Good morning, Meshach. It's Wednesday, June 9th, and my mother is one of the best writers that I know. For that reason, I've been trying to convince her to share her writing for forever, and today she finally took me up on that opportunity. So, without further ado, here is my mother and a chapter from the book she's writing.
For my elementary school's International Night, a fantastic gala was arranged with music, dancing, student performances, food, and so on. As one of the few Cuban children in the program who'd been born here and had one native English-speaking parent, my diction in both languages was better than most. As the pageantry was prepared and costumes selected, there were auditions held in Mrs. Vidal's classroom to determine who would sing, who would dance, and so on. I stepped forward into the center of the round carpet and Mrs. Vidal prompted me to sing. Cascabel, cascabel, lindo cascabel, con tus... I belted, foot tapping, hips swinging. I was putting on a show. She stopped me right there. Gracias, mi amorcito, siéntate ahí. She pointed to an empty table with 4 chairs. My heart leapt. There were a few special performances in the show, which came with extra glamorous dresses, and you got to carry a guitar, a maraca. It was clear I was being sent to the final round of consideration for one of those roles. Holy moly! I waited patiently as she continued to audition the remaining children in line, ever so often casting sorry eyes on the poor souls who were so clearly talentless at the other tables, and dreaming of my debut on Broadway. Side note, my school was 1 block east of Broadway in Chicago, just down the street from where I lived. I never understood why all the references to being on Broadway were accompanied by such absurd gild. I was on Broadway all the time. I remember this like many tics of being the child of immigrants, and yet still a native in my own country. A consequence of language and vernacular disparity that is hard to explain, but tempers all communication for those who suffer the affliction. At the end of the afternoon's auditions, I was the only child at this table off to the side. Glory be, I might be the only kid good enough. My sympathy for the jittery souls enjoying their meager treats across from me was short-lived, as indeed I was unique. Carmencita, we have a special role we want to offer you. Mrs. Vidal kneeled beside me. She spoke softly, and I was sure this was because she didn't want to hurt others' feelings. You have an excellent speaking voice, she continued with emphasis, and that is why you will have the role of Mistress of Ceremonies. She ended with a flourish, and her voice peaked just enough so I knew she was hiding something terrible. My mind raced. Was this good? Was this a punishment? What was a Mistress of Ceremonies? It didn't sound good, but it sounded important. I couldn't decide. Does it come with a dress? I blurted. Bueno, la cosa es que... And before she finished, I knew the answer. Mrs. Vidal was trying to put a good spin on awful news, the worst news, the ugliest, most undress-wearing news there was. I had an excellent speaking voice was code for no dress, no costume, no singing. I wore white tights and a white ribbed turtleneck that night, and a gorgeous black velvet jumper, which when you see it in photos is supremely elegant. My mom cobbled the outfit together with items from the thrift store. She wanted me to feel pretty, and of course I was, but I felt as ugly as a horse and complained famously about it all the way there and back home. I've been told more times than I can count that I'm a good speaker, and no matter how often I reassure myself it's a compliment, I always have to stutter past a cringe to receive it with anything but disgust. And that, Sam, is why you have an excellent speaking voice. Meshach, we'll see you tomorrow.